Beha'aloscha, ideas in the realm of Gematria from the Parshah and Daf Yomi for the Geulah. This is article number 17. In this week's Parshah, there is an interesting connection between a story in the daily Daf of Friday, which is Gematria 114a and b, the Kohen and Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, and becoming impure because of the dead. It's just called a Tamei Mace. In our Parsha, we learn about the law of Pesach Sheni, the second Pesach, or the do-over, or second chance Parsha, as some might think of it. This is how it is told in the Torah in our Parsha. There were men who were ritually unclean because of contact with a dead person, and therefore could not make the Passover sacrifice on that day. So they approached Moses and Aaron on that day. Those men said to him, "We are ritually unclean because of contact with a dead person, but why should we be excluded, so as not to bring the offering of the Lord in its appointed time with all the children of Israel?" Moses said to them, "Wait, and I will hear what the Lord instructs concerning you." And this is when Hashem speaks to Moshe and commands the law of the second Pesach, or Pesach Sheni, for anyone who was impure, or far away on a journey and could not make it the first time. The subject of becoming impure because of the dead is the link to our daily daf of Gematria 114a at the bottom, and then continues on to b, where we read a very interesting story about Rabba bar Avu when he meets Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, out of all places in a cemetery, and not only a cemetery, but a non-Jewish cemetery. Here is the text in Gematria 114a and b. Rabba bar Avu found Elijah standing in a graveyard of Gentiles. Rabba bar Avu said to him, "What is the halakha, what is the law, with regard to making arrangements for the debtor?" Elijah said to him, "A verbal analogy is derived from the usage of the term poor, mach, written in the context of a debtor, and the term poor written in the context of valuations. With regard to valuations, it is written, but if he is too poor, mach, who for your evaluation, Leviticus 27:8, and with regard to a creditor, it is written, if your brother be poor, ki yamuch achich, so mach." So the way Elijah said it was micha, like he compared the two words, mach, and then ki yamuch achicha, which is Leviticus 25:35. Rabba bar Avu now asks Elijah another question. From where is it derived with regard to an unclothed person that he may not separate truma? He replied, "As it is written, and he see no unseemly thing in you." Yerbecha ervas davar, Deuteronomy 23:15. I think that's what it is. This indicates that one may not recite any words of sanctity, including the blessing upon separating truma, in front of one who is not clothed. The Amora proceeded to ask Elijah a different question and said to him, "Is not the master a priest, a Kohen? What is the reason that the master is standing in a cemetery?" Elijah said to him, has the master, meaning Rabbi Baravu, not studied the Mishnaic order of Taharot? As it is taught in a Braita, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says that the graves of Gentiles do not render one impure, etc., etc. Okay. Rabbi Baravu said to him, how could I be familiar with that Braita if I cannot be proficient in the more commonly studied orders of the Mishnah? Can I be knowledgeable in all six? Elijah said to him, why are you not learned in them at all? In them all. Rabbi Baravu said to him, the matter of a livelihood is pressing for me, and I am therefore unable to study properly. Elijah led him and brought him into the Garden of Eden and said to him, remove your cloak, gather up and take some of these leaves lying around. Rabbi Baravu gathered them up and took them. When he was exiting, he heard a voice that declared, who else consumes his world to come like Rabbi Baravu, who takes his merit of the next world for his use in the present one? He spread out his cloak and threw away the leaves. Even so, when he brought his cloak back, he discovered that the cloak had absorbed such a good scent from those leaves that he sold it for 12,000 dinars. Since he knew that this was taken from his portion in the world to come, he did not want to benefit from it himself, and he therefore divided the sum among his sons-in-law. The connection to the Kohen is that the beginning of our Parshah mentions the lighting of the menorah by Aaron, Aharon, who was a Kohen, and Eliyahu Hanavi, who, as mentioned in the story in the Gemara, is a Kohen. I might have heard that, but I wasn't sure that he was. But apparently, according to this Gemara, Elijah, the prophet, was a Kohen. He is. The Gematriatic connection is in Rabbi Baravu's first question to Elijah regarding the comparison of a debtor to arachin, valuation, where the Gemara refers to this drasha expounding as Micha Micha. Micha Micha has a numerical value of exactly 150, which individually, the word Micha has a numerical value, of course, of 75, which is the numerical value of the word Kohen. And it works out very well here because one Kohen, or one Micha, which is 75, or Kohen 75, is equal to, is Aaron a Kohen. We learned about him in our Parshah, lighting the menorah. And another Kohen is Elijah. Micha, Micha. Kohen, Kohen. Aaron, Elijah. From the story in the Gemara. Unusual of the style of these articles, leaving it with a few questions seemed to be an interesting way to conclude, to perhaps be revisited and answered at a future time. According to the story in the Gemara, this story happened in a non-Jewish cemetery. What was Rabbi Baravu doing in a Gentile cemetery? And why did Elijah and Eliyahu Hanavi, who purportedly appears in all kinds of ways and places, choose to appear to and apparently have a conversation with Rabbi Baravu in a non-Jewish cemetery? And not only that, according to the story, even they both went into heaven, into Gan Eden, from the non-Jewish cemetery, or at least that's the last place where they met. Why would he choose to do this, and why would this happen in the story? And I actually had another question that developed as I was reading this, which was that Elijah told Rabbi Baravu in the story to pick up some leaves. Why would he tell him to pick up some leaves if immediately Rabbi Baravu hears a baskol that says, "Why are you taking your worldly reward? Why would Elijah waste his time by telling him pick up the leaves? He was only doing what Elijah told him, and a baskol told him not to do it. Only after that, he doesn't even want to take it anyway, even though he's going to get 12,000 dinars from the coat, and then he doesn't want to take it. Like, it doesn't make sense. So hopefully, and with God's help, we will someday revisit and find these answers. Have a great Shabbos.